fitness trainer from Austin takes home $9,840 every month, and he doesn't touch a barbell. He lives on $3,400. The rest disappears into one place. No, he's not selling wealth courses. He didn't launch a crypto coin. He didn't open a chain of gyms. He does the exact opposite of what financial gurus advise. He doesn't save where everyone else does. He invests in assets that bloggers call for retirees. And he burned nearly $400,000 before he figured it out. In 18 minutes, you'll learn why your morning coffee isn't the enemy of wealth. How a man without an MBA built a $2.3 million portfolio in 10 years. And what happened one night when he realized, one more day of trading, and everything would collapse for good. Mark Johnson, 40 years old. For kids, the oldest is 15, the youngest is 6. A certified personal trainer. 17 years in the profession. He rents a 3-bedroom apartment in the Austin suburbs for $2,100. A 2020 Honda Civic sits in the parking lot next to a client's Tesla. The watch on his wrist, a Casio, for $45. In his bank account, $924,000. In his brokerage portfolio, another $2.31 million. His goal? $7 million by 50. Not for a Ferrari. For the right to wake up and do what he wants. Not what the bills dictate. Every morning, Mark calculates one number. Not income. Not expenses. He counts how many days of freedom yesterday's work bought him. Right now, the ratio is 1 to 5. He works one day, it covers almost 5. Sounds simple? The story leading up to this point is disaster, panic, and a decision his wife called suicide. In a minute, you'll learn the single reason why 90% of trainers get stuck at a $4,000 to $5,000 salary forever. Mark discovered it by accident. In a conversation that lasted 40 seconds. That conversation changed the next 10 years. 2015. Mark earns $52,000 for the year. He does 8 personal training sessions every day. At $65 an hour. 6 a.m., first client. 8 p.m., last client. Weekends? If he's lucky, 1 every 2 weeks. Physically, he's burning out. His right knee hurts after every session. His voice gives out by Friday. But the main pain is the math. 40 clients a week. 160 hours a month. Even if he raises his rate to 100, that's $16,000 max minus 30% taxes. Minus gym rent. Minus insurance. He's left with $4,500. A ceiling. A physical, hard ceiling of the profession. You sell time. Time runs out. Game over. Most trainers bang their heads against the ceiling until they're 40. Then they move to an office job or open a gym, take out a $500,000 loan, get a headache from managing staff, and go bankrupt within 2 years. Mark tried both options. Neither worked. January 2016. Client Sarah Mitchell approaches him after a workout. 29 years old. An accountant. She's been working with Mark for 6 months. Lost 18 pounds. She says, "I'm moving to Seattle in a week. New job. Can you coach me remotely?" Mark doesn't think. He answers, $300 a month. 1 video call a week. Personalized meal and workout plan. Daily report via Messenger. Sarah agrees instantly. 3 hours of work. 1 client. $300. Instead of $195 for 3 in-person sessions. The math breaks. Within a month, Mark picks up 5 more remote clients. He continues in-person sessions alongside them. His income jumps by $1,500. He spends the same amount of time. Here's what really happened. Mark stopped selling hours. He started selling results. Not, "I'll spend 60 minutes with you in the gym," but "in 12 weeks your body will change. I guarantee it." Here are 5 case studies. Here are before and after photos. Clients pay for transformation, for accountability, for someone who won't let them quit. End of 2016. Mark has 23 remote clients. He keeps 10 in person. Favorites he's worked with for 3 years. Total income, $9,800 a month. For the first time in his life, he saves more than he spends. Savings rate 42%. Every month, $4,100 goes into a savings account. It sits there, Earns a measly 1.5% a year. But it grows. Alongside, a second stream. A partnership with the owner of a juice bar near the gym. Mark consults on the menu for athletes. Gets 15% of sales from his referrals. Another 600 to 800 monthly. Third, an online sports nutrition store. Curated supplement selections. An affiliate program. A steady 400 to 500. Horizontal growth. Monetizing expertise. End of 2017. Total, $13,500 a month. Family expenses, $3,100. He saves $10,400 monthly. Savings rate, 77%. Friends think he's crazy. Relatives don't understand. Why save? Buy a house. Buy a decent car. Live a little for once. Mark stays quiet. Inside, a goal burns that he doesn't speak aloud. But in a few years, that silence will explode. With a decision that destroys nearly half his capital. And forces him to rethink every single dollar. July 2018. Savings account balance, $287,000. Mark reads Benjamin Graham. Listens to podcasts about Warren Buffett. Everywhere it's the same. Bonds are for retirees. Real money is in stocks. He opens a brokerage account. Buys Tesla at $340 a share. Sells 14 days later at $385. Net profit, $4,500. Faster than earning it from a month's work. Adrenaline. A feeling of control. The illusion of genius. Netflix. Amazon. Microsoft options. He wins at first. His account skyrockets. $340,000. Then $420. December 2018. The market crashes. Tech stocks drop 20 to 40%. Mark holds his positions. Repeats the mantra, I'm a long-term investor. I'll ride out the drawdown. He doesn't sleep at night. Checks quotes every 2 hours. His wife Jessica, a former teacher, hair in a bun, a cup of cold tea in her hand, once catches him at 3 a.m. in front of the laptop. Asks, what's going on? He's silent. The screen glows red with numbers. January 2019. Panic. Mark closes all positions at the bottom. Locks in a loss. $127,000. 6 months of savings. Gone in 120 days. A normal person would have stopped here. Mark goes all in. The problem isn't trading. The problem is me. I'm not disciplined enough. He buys a technical analysis course for $3,500. Studies Japanese candlesticks, Fibonacci levels, the MACD indicator. Builds trading systems. Backtests them on historical data. 2019, 2020. Trading becomes a second job. 3 hours before market open, preparation. 6 hours trading. 2 hours in the evening reviewing mistakes. Result for 2019. A loss of $68,000. 14 months of income. College funds for 2 kids. Gone in 6 weeks. First quarter 2020. Plus $12,000. March-April 2020. Pandemic and crash. Minus $43,000. Mark does the math. If he had just kept saving in that savings account at 2% a year, he'd have almost $400,000 more right now. Casino. For 2 years, he played in a casino calling it investing. March 2020. Brokerage account balance. $89,000. 2.5 years ago, it was $287. He closes the terminal. Sits at his desk. Opens Excel. Somewhere in the kids' room, a bed creaks. His youngest daughter is stirring in her sleep. Jessica walks into the kitchen. Sees his face. Sits down across from him with a mug that still says buy low, sell high from last Christmas. Asks quietly, how much? Almost 200,000. Silence. Then she says, enough. Mark nods. For the next 3 hours, he runs a calculation that turns everything upside down. The question is simple. What if you forgot about capital growth? Focused only on cash flow? Mark calculates. For his family to live on $4,000 a month in passive income, he needs capital generating 5% a year. That's $960,000. A conservative portfolio. 60%, Long-term U.S. Treasury bonds. 40. Corporate bonds rated A and above. 0 stocks. 0 speculation. Coupon yield. 4.8 to 5.2%. Steady. Predictable. Boring to the point of pain. But it works. April 2020. Mark moves all 89,000 into bonds. Average yield, 5.1%. That's $4,539 a year. $378 passively per month. Laughably little. But it's the first brick. From then on, only contributions. 10 to 12,000 every month from active income. No trying to time the market. No rebalancing. Buy and hold. 4 2020. Plus 126,000 into the portfolio. 4 2021. Plus 142,000. 4 2022. Plus 138,000. 4 2023. Plus 154,000. 4 2024. Plus 171,000. The Fed cuts rates 3 times in the second half of the year by a total of 100 basis points. The market price of long-term bonds appreciates. For the first half of 2025, plus 132,000. The Fed takes a pause. Uncertainty over tariffs and inflation. Long treasuries fluctuate, but the coupons arrive on schedule. Meanwhile, his business grows. Online clients are now at 47. In-person clients, 0. Income stabilizes, 15,700 monthly. Family expenses, 3,400. He saves 12,300. But then something happens that no one expected. Not even Mark himself. August 2023. Portfolio 1,090,000. Treasury bonds pay a coupon twice a year, every 6 months. A check arrives for roughly 28,900. Spread out over months, that's about 4,800 passively. Mark has reached the point. Technically, he could live without working. Logic says, slow down, relax, enjoy the result. Mark does the opposite. He makes a decision that Jessica calls financial suicide. Buy long-term U.S. bonds with all his free capital, with 20 to 30-year maturities, at a fixed rate. Why is this crazy? In August 2023, rates on long-term treasuries are historically high, 5.3% annually. But every economist is screaming, inflation will return, purchasing power will collapse, bonds will be worthless. Jessica asks, what if they're right? What if in 10 years, this money is worth half as much? Mark answers, and what if it's not? He grabs a calculator, shows her the math. Scenario 1. Inflation skyrockets. The bond principal loses value, but the coupons arrive every 6 months. Steadily. Even if the dollar weakens, the cash flow is there. Scenario 2. Inflation falls. Rates drop. The value of long-term bonds skyrockets. The portfolio appreciates by 20 to 40%. But Mark doesn't sell. He holds to maturity. Scenario 3. Everything stays as is. Coupons keep dripping in. They get reinvested. Compound interest works its magic. All 3 scenarios work for me. Jessica is quiet. Then, are you sure? No. But I'm placing my bet. September 2023. Mark moves $420,000 in free cash into long-term U.S. Treasury bonds. Maturity date, 2052. 29 years. It's irreversible. If the market crashes, he loses half. If inflation explodes, purchasing power evaporates. Betting everything. October 2023. The bond market drops. Mark's portfolio declines by 12%. Unrealized loss, 130,000. Friends message him, sell, save what you can. Mark doesn't reply. He opens his Excel spreadsheet, looks at one line, the date of the next coupon payment. In 6 weeks, a check for 28,900 will arrive. The portfolio drops, but the money comes. November, down 18%. The check will arrive on schedule. December, down 21%. The check will arrive on schedule. He doesn't sleep at night. But not from panic. From realization. For the first time in 10 years, his income has stopped depending on his actions. The market could crash. The economy could enter a recession. Clients could leave. But every 6 months, the U.S. Treasury transfers those coupon payments. As long as the country exists, the money comes. January 2024. The market turns around. The Fed signals a willingness to cut rates. Long-term bonds start to rise. By the end of 2024, the Fed cuts rates 3 times, a total of 100 basis points. Mark's portfolio recovers its drawdown and moves into positive territory. The bonds bought for $420,000 are now valued by the market at roughly $462,000, up 10%. Modest, but that's not why Mark bought them. February 2025. Jessica asks, "Why don't you lock in the profit?" Mark answers, "I'm not playing the price appreciation game. I bought cash flow. The bonds mature in 2052. I'm buying my kids time to figure out life without the pressure of bills." She looks at him. For the first time in 2 years, she sees peace. He's no longer a trader chasing profits. He's a rentier who bought 29 years of predictability. In 2025, the Fed takes a pause. Uncertainty over tariffs. Long-term bonds fluctuate, up one day, down the next. Mark doesn't check the price. He checks the calendar. The next coupon is in April. Start of 2026. Portfolio, $2.31 million. Passive cash flow per month, $9,840. Active earnings, $9,200. He saves $15,640 every month. The ratio, 1 to 5. He works 1 day, it covers almost 5 days of his family's living expenses. The goal of $7 million realistic. By his calculations, $6.1 million by the time he's 50. With income growth and coupon reinvestment closer to 7. But the most important thing isn't the number. For the first time, Mark wakes up without fear. The fear that if he doesn't work today, his family will suffer. That's what money buys. Not yachts. Not houses. Not status. The absence of fear. Start of 2026. Mark sits in a cafe. Orders a latte for $7. Nearby, a financial blogger is filming a video. Give up coffee. Become a millionaire in 30 years. Mark smiles to himself. Over the last 10 years, he's spent about $26,000 on coffee. Giving it up would have freed up at most $31,000, assuming reinvestment. In those same 10 years, not buying a house and renting instead preserved $340,000 in capital. Not buying a new car every 3 years saved another $85,000. Not living in a prestigious neighborhood, choosing an ordinary suburb instead, saved $220,000. Total, $645,000. Coffee, $31,000. The difference is 21 times. That's the truth financial advisors don't tell you. You shouldn't save on the things that bring you joy. You save on status purchases that steal your capital but don't bring happiness. Mark lives in a rented apartment, drives a used car, doesn't wear a Rolex, but he drinks expensive coffee every morning, eats at restaurants 4 times a week, buys his kids anything that helps them develop, takes the family to Europe once a year. His life doesn't feel like a sacrifice. Every day is filled with small joys. And yet, he saves 82% of his income. The secret? He gave up things he was supposed to have to impress others, and kept what brings him pleasure. Mark is 40 now, 10 years until 50. At his current pace, saving $15,640 monthly, and with 5% returns, he'll reach $6.1 million by 50. With income growth and reinvestment closer to 7. He could ease up on the active phase a little. Or reconsider the goal. Mark chooses to continue, because it's no longer a sacrifice. It's a game with clear rules, and he's finally figured out how to play. Every morning, he asks himself, how many days of freedom will I buy with today's work? Right now, the answer is almost 5 days for one. My question to you, how many days of freedom does your salary buy you? 1 to 1, 1 to half, 1 to 0. Calculate it right now. Take your monthly income. Subtract your essential expenses. Divide the remainder by your daily spending. That's your ratio. If the number is less than 1, you're working just to lose. If it's more than 3, you're on your way to what Mark calls the right to say no. The right to decline a project that doesn't inspire you. The right to choose your clients. The right to take a 6-month break without panicking. Money doesn't buy happiness. That's true. But it buys choice. And choice is freedom. Drop one number in the comments, your work-to-freedom ratio. No explanations. Just the number. I want to see an honest picture. If this video changed anything in your mind, hit like. The algorithm will show it to those who need to see it right now. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.